Morning fans, this is Wife Mother Ultra Runner here with another gear review. Today we have a comparison of 3 Salomon trail shoes. We have the Salomon Ultra Pro, we have the Salomon Sense Ride 4, and we have the Salomon S Ultra 3. So we'll be looking at those. These are all trail shoes that would work well with long distance, particularly ultras if you're looking for something a little bit more cushioned. So let's get to it. As with all my other videos, there's no paid promotion here and all of the opinions are my own. Now I do have a bunch of other gear review, trail shoe reviews also on my channel, so do please like and subscribe and don't forget to click that bell button and then you'll be able to get updated of anything else that I put out. So we have here the Ultra Pro, the Sense Ride 4 and the S Ultra 3. Now these are all trail shoes that have medium type lugs. These are 4mm lugs, so these are trail shoes that are not for super muddy conditions but more to do with hard packed trails, dirt paths, woodland, grass, just nothing really muddy that you would need that, you know, really aggressive grip for. These trail shoes are all able to do longer distances and they have a relatively high drop. They're all 8mm drop. So getting started, in terms of the weight of the shoes, we have the Ultra Pro, which is 260 grams, the Sense Ride 4, which is 235, so the lightest of all of them, and the S Ultra 3, which is 290 grams, this one's the heaviest. And in terms of the stack, we have the Sense Ride 4 and the Ultra Pro have relatively high-ish stack. It's hard to get exact stats here, but you can still feel the terrain with all 3 of these shoes. So that's nothing to worry about, but the S Ultra 3 does feel lower to the ground. In terms of the width of the shoes, Salomon do run notoriously narrow in terms of their width fittings. I would say that the widest fit actually is the Ultra Pro. However, even though the S looks narrow on paper, because you have because your toes are so sort of unrestricted by any kind of liner on the inside, these actually feel really roomy and feel like you have the space and you're not constricted there. The Sense Ride 4 does feel a little bit narrower out of the 3 of them. I would say it's less narrow than sort of say a Speed Cross, but between the 3 of them, this is the more narrow of the 3. So in terms of the looks, you do have, with the Ultra Pro, you have this 3D mesh and an endo fit sleeve. The welded upper has quite a smooth feel. There's a lot of waterproofing here, and you do have drainage holes and breathability holes, but there is a lot of waterproofing, which makes it feel actually quite stiff. In my view. The same thing with this tongue here. This is a lot of waterproofing on the tongue and it just makes it feel a little bit less flexible and a little warm, actually a little hot. So that is the Ultra Pro. Then you have the Sense Ride. This is made with a Sensei Fit upper, and again you have an endo fit sleeve. It works nicely. The tongue is molded to the, can you see that? The tongue is adhered to the insole there, so you get a good locked-in feel. But the material, it's nice, it's breathable, it's flexible. You have a little bit of waterproofing, but not much compared to the Ultra Pro. And then you have the S and this is completely different. This is a dual layer mesh, and this is like a plastic sort of TPU kind of mesh. It's anti-debris, but also it has been treated with a water repellent treatment. So this is really great for water just sort of beading off instead of soaking in. But actually what you'll see is this dual layer. So you have this outer mesh, and then inside it's all very sort of closed into your ankle so you don't get any debris inside. Inside you have this, what feels like a sock liner. If I do this, can you see that? That's all it is. It's very, very thin, and it stops where your toes start. So when it stops there, then suddenly your toes are just sort of open to the elements to all except this very breathable mesh. So there's a lot of roominess there, and this is very breathable, very flexible, and very lightweight as well. So I really like the outer on this. In terms of the lacing, all three of these shoes have the quick lace system, which is actually really great. I find it really handy in terms of tightening your laces up. They do come with pouches to tuck the little dongle into and the excess laces, but it does get a bit tricky because a lot of people complain that the laces cover the pouches. So with the Ultra Pro, the pouch is over the laces, so you won't get that problem. But with the other two, sometimes the laces can go over the entrance of the pouches. There is a knack to it. Once you've done it, though, and once you've figured out the knack, and I'm showing the video now, then actually it's not a problem at all. The only thing I would say about the quick lace system is that when you have very cold, wet hands at the end of a trail race and all you want to do is undo your shoes, sometimes it can be really fiddly to try and get those laces out from the pouch. I would say that I'd argue that you have the same problem if you're trying to undo your laces with normal trainers as well, with normal laces. But it's just a little thing. But on the whole, though, I find the quick lace system works really well and is really handy. With the Ultra Pro, this tongue there is some waterproof detailing on it. I find it actually makes it a little warm and a little hot, but the tongue goes all the way down to the insole, so you get a nice locked-in feel, very similar to the Sense Ride. The tongue goes all the way down, but it's nice and padded, doesn't dig in anywhere. The S-Lab is completely different. The tongue is just part of this sock, as it were. So it's not separate at all. It doesn't join anywhere. It's just part of you. If you imagine a sock that you were putting on, that's how this feels, only with this liner around it. So, how does it feel? We have, with the Ultra Pro, I would say that the upper feels a little rough, a little stiff. It could be because of all that waterproof detailing. Also, the material is slightly different to the other two, so it does feel a little stiff, and even in the toes as well than the S-Lab and the Sense Ride. I would say the ankle feels a little higher. I have low ankle, so I notice these things, and there is more arch support in this shoe than any of the other two. So if you need more arch support, definitely have a feel of this. For me, it feels, it's a slightly harder ride than the S-Lab. It's more responsive, but it is less cushioned in my eyes. Also, the fact that the support, you get slightly more arch support than you do in the other two. So even though this is more responsive, for me, I found that the landing was blunted a little bit by that arch support. Perhaps that's because I have a neutral foot and that arch support was a little bit more than I needed, but that's how I felt. This SensiFit technology that's supposed to help with foot expansion while you're running. It's not the same. I mean, you get these sort of two bands either side, whereas with the S-Lab, it's all the way across this lace area. So it's definitely more noticeable with the S-Lab. In terms of the Sense Ride 4, I actually found this was a really comfortable shoe. I would say it's a slightly harder ride than the Ultra shoes, but it's neutral, it's supple, it's lightweight, and it has a nice roomy feel. It feels a little high, so the stack's a little higher, but it's not too out there. It is narrower than the Ultra shoes though, than the other two Ultra shoes. That is one point. But as a cheaper option, I'd say this was great. I would even say that because of the flexibility and the suppleness of this upper, I actually preferred the feel than the Ultra Pro. This just felt so stiff in comparison. I wasn't a big fan personally. So that's my thoughts on the Sense. With the S-Lab 3, I have so many good things to say about this one. For one thing, the materials in the upper and this inner sort of sock liner, they were just so comfortable. Everything was flexible, breathable, lightweight, really maneuverable. I just really loved how it felt, and it felt also that because I had more room in this toe area and there was nothing sort of constricting my toe areas, it just felt really comfortable. Now in terms of the cushioning, it's more cushioned than the Ultra Pro, but it's still responsive. I'd say it's more responsive and less cushioned than, say, a Merrell MTL Long Sky or Brooks Cascadia 15. So it is responsive, but there is a little bit more cushioning in there compared to the other two, which I really enjoyed. This kind of sort of sock feel where it's all sort of locked in really helps against keeping out sand and dirt and rocks and things, which I really liked. And it's just nice and roomy. It is it's the heaviest of the shoes, but it doesn't feel overly heavy. I think that responsiveness really helps with that. Neutral shoe, but there is a little bit of arch support in there, but that's standard when you have an ultra focused shoe because of your technique going and you needing to have a little bit more support as you get tired. So finally, in terms of price, we have the Sense Ride for £110, the Ultra Pro for £135, and then the S-Lab Ultra 3 for £165. Now, I would say actually that although the Sense Ride was narrower, I found it was more comfortable than the Ultra Pro. There was something about this stiffness in all of these waterproofing features that I just wasn't a fan of. It was less cushioned, and the heel support was a little bit stiffer and more structured as well, and so it wasn't for me. However, if you do want something that is a little bit more structured, this would actually be a good bet for you. But that said, the Sense Ride 4, even though this was a little narrower, I did find it very comfortable, very flexible, it's lightweight, and for the price point, I thought it was actually a really great shoe. That said, the S-Lab is £165. It's a lot more money. However, I really do feel it was worth it. The materials, the comfort, how it feels on the inside, the cushioning, the responsiveness, even though it's a little bit heavier, it really does feel so comfortable. For me, this is my new race day ultra shoe. I absolutely love it. And it dries so quickly as well. So I'm a big fan of this one. I would say, is it worth the money? Yes, but if you don't want to go that much, I would try the Sense Ride 4 if you wanted something a little less structured, because I found the Ultra Pro quite structured and a little inflexible and a little stiff. So providing you're not overly wide-footed, the Sense Ride 4 would be a good way to go if you were looking specifically for Salomon and didn't want to spend the money on the S-Lab. But out of the three of them, the S-Lab is hands down my favourite. So I hope that was useful to you. I've done a bunch of other comparison videos. What I also have coming up is a comparison video comparing the S-Lab Ultra 3 with two other trail shoes of similar drop and similar lugs. So that is the S-Lab Ultra 3 and the Merrell MTL Long Sky and the Brooks Cascadia 15. So I have a comparison video coming up with that. So click like, click subscribe, click the bell button, and then you'll be notified when that one comes out too. All right, thanks very much everybody. Thanks for watching. Happy trails, guys.